Let's imagine for a second that your entire world is just shattered. A foreign superpower conquers your nation, destroys your most sacred places, and drags you hundreds of miles away into exile. Now, this isn't just some dusty old story. It's the gripping reality that kicks off the book of Daniel. It's a tale of unwavering faith set against the backdrop of the most powerful empires the world had ever seen. So, let's dive into the world of Daniel and see how faith can survive and even thrive right in the heart of an empire. All right, so picture this. The year is 605 BC. A military genius, Prince Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, just crushes the Egyptian and Assyrian armies. And with that one single victory, Babylon becomes the undisputed master of the ancient world. So what's his next move? He marches south, lays siege to Jerusalem, and begins hauling off the best and brightest of the nation into captivity.
And it gets worse. The Babylonians, they don't just take people. They loot the sacred treasures from God's temple in Jerusalem and put them in the trophy room of their own god Marduk. Now, for anyone watching back then, the message was crystal clear. Babylon's gods had totally triumphed. So you can imagine the terrifying question for the exiled Jews. Has our God actually been defeated? And honestly, the entire book of Daniel is the answer to that one question.
So our story starts with a kingdom in ruins, and we meet four young men taken from their homes: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They're basically handpicked for this intense re-education program, and the goal here wasn't just to teach them new things. It was to systematically erase their entire identity.
And right from the get-go, they face these showdowns, really. Contests of wisdom between the immense power of Babylon and the quiet sovereignty of their God. And where does the first battle take place? It's fought over culture and identity.
Okay, look at this strategy here. It's so deliberate. The Babylonians changed their names. And this isn't just a new nickname. They're trying to strip away their entire connection to their God. Take Daniel. His name means God is my judge. They change it to Belteshazzar to honor a Babylonian god. The goal? Super simple. Make them forget who they are, and more importantly, whose they are.
So, the next test? It actually comes at the dinner table. The king's rich food and wine would have been a major problem for them according to their law. So Daniel, showing some incredible courage, but also, being really smart about it, he proposes a test. Just 10 days, vegetables and water. And the result? It's amazing. They're found to be healthier and way sharper than all the other guys. Now this might seem like a small victory, right? But it proves this absolutely crucial point. Faithfulness to their God brings real strength, even in the heart of the empire.
Okay, so fast forward a few years, and these contests, they really start to escalate. King Nebuchadnezzar has this dream that absolutely terrifies him. But here's the catch. When he wakes up, he can't remember the details. So he calls in all his wise men, the magicians, the astrologers, the whole crew, and gives them a task that is just impossible. He says, "Don't just tell me what my dream means. You have to tell me what I dreamed in the first place."
And you can guess what happens. The wise men are completely stumped. They're like, "Whoa, king, what you're asking? It's impossible for any human." They say, "Only the gods could do that, but they don't hang out with us mortals." Well, the king is furious. He orders the execution of every single wise man in Babylon. And guess what? That death sentence now includes Daniel and his friends.
So Daniel's facing a death sentence, but he doesn't panic. He's not trying to use magic or read the stars. He goes to his friends, and they do the one thing they know how to do. They pray. They ask the God of heaven for mercy. And that very night, God reveals the whole mystery to Daniel in a vision. And this is just a perfect picture of where Daniel's real power comes from. It's not in him, it's in his connection to God.
So Daniel's wisdom gets him promoted, right? But this time of peace just leads to an even crazier test of faith. Nebuchadnezzar, probably feeling pretty good about himself, maybe thinking about that dream of the golden head, builds this gigantic golden statue. We're talking 90 feet tall. And he demands that every single official in the empire bow down and worship it. Well, you know who doesn't bow? Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They refuse. And when they're dragged in front of this furious king, they don't back down an inch. Nebuchadnezzar just loses it. He scoffs at them, basically asking, "What god do you think can rescue you from my power?" See, it's a direct challenge. It's not just to these three men. It's a challenge to their God. And believe me, the king is not messing around. He orders them to crank up the furnace 7 times hotter than normal. And this isn't just about punishment. This is a spectacle. He wants to make a terrifying example out of them.
to show everyone how pointless it is to defy his will.
I mean, the heat is so incredibly intense, so overwhelming, that the super strong soldiers who are supposed to throw them in, they're killed instantly by the flames just by getting close. Think about that. There is absolutely zero chance of survival here. This is a death sentence. Full stop.
But then, something incredible happens. The king looks into the furnace and he is just stunned. He doesn't see 3 guys tied up and burning. He sees 4 men walking around, totally untied, completely unharmed. And the 4th one? He says he looks like a son of the gods. You see, God didn't pull them out of the fire. He got in there with them.
So these incredible stories of personal faith, they're not just random events. They're really setting the stage for the whole second half of the book, where the camera kind of pulls back. And instead of these individual tests, we get these huge, epic visions of history. It's like God is giving Daniel a peek behind the curtain at how human empires are going to play out, from his time all the way to the very end.
Okay, so this slide is really the key to understanding a lot of biblical prophecy. The dream of the statue in Daniel 2 and the vision of the beasts in Daniel 7. They're parallel visions. They're telling the same story. Now, the statue, from a human point of view, it looks awesome, right? Gold, silver, bronze. But God's vision, the one with the beasts, shows you what these empires are really like. Violent, predatory. The golden head is a lion. That's Babylon. The silver chest is a bear, Medo-Persia. The bronze belly, a super-fast leopard. That's Alexander the Great's Greece. And the legs of iron, a terrifying beast that just crushes everything in its path. That's Rome. See, it's the same sequence, just 2 totally different and very revealing perspectives.
But here's the kicker. Both visions end in exactly the same way. In the statue dream, you've got this mysterious stone, one that wasn't cut by human hands, that just smashes the statue to pieces, and the whole thing blows away like dust. And in the beast vision, after that final terrifying beast is judged, we see one like a son of man coming on the clouds of heaven, and he's given a kingdom that will last forever. They're both pointing to the same incredible conclusion. A divine kingdom is coming, and it's going to completely replace all the temporary violent empires of humanity.
So this whole stretch of history, all the way from Nebuchadnezzar marching into Jerusalem until that future divine kingdom shows up, the Bible has a name for that. It's called the times of the Gentiles. It's basically this long period where world power isn't centered in Jerusalem, but in the hands of these big Gentile world powers. And for a lot of people, this idea helps frame the whole sweep of history, from Daniel's day right up to our own.
So the book wraps up with one last, really powerful story that kind of ties everything together. It's the ultimate proof that while human kingdoms rise and fall, God's protection over his people is part of something truly unshakable.
Okay, so now Daniel's an old man. He's probably in his 80s, and he's serving yet another empire, the Medo-Persians. And his coworkers, they are super jealous. They can't find a single thing to criticize about his work, so they set this brilliant, evil trap. They trick the king, Darius, into signing a law that can't be changed. And the law says, for the next 30 days, if you pray to any god or any person besides the king, you get thrown into the lion's den. Daniel hears about this new law, and what does he do? He goes home, opens his windows so everyone can see, faces Jerusalem, and he prays, just like he did every single day. Of course, he gets caught, and he's thrown to the lions. But the next morning, a totally distraught King Darius runs to the den, and he finds Daniel, perfectly fine, not a scratch on him. And Daniel's explanation? It's so simple and so powerful. He just says, my God sent his angel, and he shut the lions' mouths.
So when you step back and look at the whole book, you see this incredible pattern, right? It doesn't matter if it's a test about food or a crazy dream, a fiery furnace, or a den of hungry lions. The message is always the same. These massively powerful human kings, Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, Darius, every single one of them is forced to admit that their power is just temporary. They learn that the God of heaven is the one who's really in charge, the one who rules over all the kingdoms of men.
And that really leaves us with this one big thought. The book of Daniel is all about clashing kingdoms, isn't it? You've got the temporary, violent, beast-like empires of humanity on one side, and the eternal, unshakable kingdom of God on the other. And it just forces you to ask a question that's just as real for us today as it was 2,500 years ago. When human power looks totally absolute, when it seems overwhelming, what's the thing that actually lasts?